branding from a marketing coach that I had years ago that I want to pass on to you today. Branding is something that we're all aware of, right? We all want a great brand, but branding means different things to different people. As a school, when we talk about branding, you might think about your brand guide or your mission statement, or thinking about your academics and your programmatic features, and obviously how that plays into your brand. And all those things are correct, right? They go into a brand, but what is it about a brand that allows you to be magnetic to your ideal families? Why are some brands stronger than others? And what I learned years ago from a coach that I had is that branding actually comes down to one big thing. And that big thing is consistency in messaging. And I can say, after working and speaking with literally hundreds of schools over the years and seeing the inner workings of some of the most successful ones, the consistency in messaging really is that secret sauce to branding. So in today's video, I want to share with you what that really means, and leave you with some tactical tips to ensuring that your messaging is on point, and also maybe even give you a bit of counterintuitive advice as well. So again, when we think about consistency in messaging, it isn't just about repetition. It's about creating a clear, unmistakable identity. It's what makes your school not just a choice, but a choice for your ideal families. And why is that? It's because your messaging then will align across every touch point, from your website to your social media, from what your admissions team is saying, to your head of school, to your existing families. It ultimately builds trust. And in the world of education, obviously, trust is everything. So let me bring this to life real quick with a personal story. When it came time, thinking about how we were choosing a school for my daughter, around kindergarten, we were inundated with options. I'm outside the Philadelphia area. We have great public schools, really competitive private school environment as well. Some really great private schools, all kind of right down the street from each other. But there was one school that really stood out, and it wasn't just because of academics, but for something more. Every interaction that we had, from the head of school to the admissions officer to what parents were telling us when we were attending events, everyone, and then every piece of content, right? The website content, social media, it all echoed the same message, that, this school was a place where kids can be kids, right? That was their big message, where kids can be kids. They're going to learn to be respectful and kind. And the community aspect was as crucial as the academics. And it's not that they brushed off the academics. They're like, the academics are great, but look, academics are great at all the schools around here. So academics are fine, but here is what sets us apart. Here's why families come here. And look, this wasn't by accident. It was the result of obviously very intentional, consistent messaging that, it resonated with us deeply, and obviously many other parents, because it ultimately made the choice for us clear. And that's really the power of consistency. It differentiates your school in a crowded market and can help connect emotionally with families like ourselves that were looking for exactly what you offer. Now, thinking about, your school's brand, some of the things to think about is, do we have a clear, consistent message? If you were to ask your faculty, your staff, your head of school, current parents, your alumni about what makes your school unique, it's not that they would all give the same exact answer, but what would their answer be? Would it all be similar? Would there be that consistency? So there's an opportunity there for some self-reflection and analysis. And then, think about your website content, your social media content. Does that also reflect that same messaging? So that's, again, the first thing to kind of self-assess when you're looking at how strong your brand is. Because look, let's face it, no matter what marketing tactics you use, right? I'm big on marketing tactics and best practices, right? Nothing is more powerful than a strong brand that creates amazing reviews and word of mouth marketing. Nothing is as strong as that. So, with that being said, let me actually piggyback on that story and give you a tactical tip to create a really unique messaging framework that can actually be really magnetic to your ideal families. Now, all of you listening right now, assuming you're with a school, you likely have a mission statement, right? Maybe even have it memorized, but you have a mission statement. It's on your website. And it's a very common thing that everybody should have, right? Great. But my question is, do you have an anti-mission statement? Now, what do I mean by anti-mission statement? What I mean is, just as much as you want to stand for something, right? That's what we have with a mission statement. You have a statement about who you are as a school, one of the most powerful strategies that can be attractive to your ideal families is to stand against something and rally people around a common belief and really build a movement. Let me give you an example. It might sound a little obscure, but bear with me. One of the, when we think about some iconic brands in the world, right? One of the most iconic brands is Apple, right? They've created a brand where they pretty much created a situation where they come out a new phone every year, barely any changes to the phone. You go out and spend $2,000 and people rush to buy it because they just have to have it. They've created this tribe, this movement. Right. And so that's what they've created, right? An amazing brand. But I actually want to take you back to when the iPhone was first introduced, that first presentation by Steve Jobs, when he unveiled the iPhone for the first time. By the way, if you want a masterclass in messaging and marketing and presenting, go on YouTube, go find that presentation when Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone. It's amazing. But I digress. Anyway, something that actually gets overlooked from that presentation is that before introducing all of the features and all the really cool things of the iPhone, Steve Jobs actually fabricated an enemy that everyone could rally behind. Do you know what that enemy was? The keyboard. I don't know if you remember this, but before iPhones, right? We had the Blackberries and all the other smartphones, and the smartphone variations. They all had the keyboards, right? So when Steve Jobs essentially said was, look, no more keyboards. Aren't we tired of keyboards getting in the way when we don't need them? And what that did was immediately draw people in and say, yeah, that makes perfect sense. If I'm not using the keyboard, why do I need a keyboard? I don't want that anymore, right? And essentially what he created this enemy or something for you to stand against and rally people around. Like, we don't want those keyboards, those Blackberries anymore. We want the iPhone, right? So let's take that analogy and say you can do the same. Now, create an enemy might sound odd, but think about it this way. If families are choosing your school, they're choosing you over someone else for a reason, right? When we chose my daughter's school, their enemy, if you will, were, the ultra competitive schools that are trying to get kids into Harvard starting in kindergarten, right? They were against the one size fits all model. They were against not allowing kids to be kids. And instead, they were against the concept of like sitting in desks all day, right? So think about that for your school. You can use messaging that might sound like this. Are you frustrated with? Are you tired of? Right, the one size fits all model, teaching to the test, like those standardized assessments, right? Are you looking for something different? Do you want a school where you can do X, Y, and Z? By positioning that way, you're getting people to kind of nod along. And if they agree with you, if they're looking for that, right, then if you're getting them to nod along, then they're going to believe that what you have to offer is the solution for their educational needs, for their family, for their children, right? So you will immediately stand out against other schools that all have mission statements. And frankly, many of the mission statements sound very similar, right? So think about that, creating a movement, rallying people around a common cause or, again, enemy, right? So ensuring your message is consistent everywhere. It's not just about alignment. It's about authenticity, where every member of your community can articulate your school's mission and what it stands for and against. Right. And again, you're not just doing this for marketing purposes. You are truly trying to build a movement that creates tremendous word of mouth marketing as well. So again, remember, successful branding through consistent messaging, it's more than a strategy. It's ultimately becomes the heart and soul of how you connect with your community, right? It's what makes your school not just an option, but that go-to destination. So last thing I want to leave you with, and I'll just mention, is that inside the platform that I put together, the AIMS platform, we've pre-built a lot of the marketing assets and templates for you to use, and it was built on this messaging framework for your landing pages, for your email campaigns, for your advertising, so that it can help you formulate your own consistent messaging across those marketing assets and help put this core messaging into the key spots on your website and the different marketing assets that you have. So again, if you want to see how we did that, depending upon where you're watching this, somewhere in the comments or the description to this video, somewhere on this page, there's a link in the bio. Check out, you can check out a demo, and I'll walk you through exactly how we've implemented this branding concept and this anti-mission statement throughout the marketing assets that are available to you. So that being said, hopefully you found this helpful. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next live stream. Take care, everybody.